camera does work. Wow. And I'm a technology guy. What's up? Welcome to Camp Okayest. I am your host, Sean Ritter. Of course, Camp Okayest, powered by X2 Power, X2 batteries. Again, available at your local Batteries Plus store. Amazing technology they have out there. We talked to Sean Boudiak of X2 a while back, I don't know, it was like third or fourth episode, and he was talking about these new like power banks that came out with this year. Crazy, they sold out of them instantly to the point now where they're taking pre-orders for the next round of these things to go. And I'm not talking like your little tiny, like these are legit, like you could power, like you could run things in your house on it, like for days. It's a really cool new thing that came out with. They've got like literally lithium powered air pumps that can pump up stuff in your tires. And I'm not going to go much with the X2 stuff. You can go to a trade show and see that. And that's what this week's show is going to be about, is trade shows and kind of trade show traps. And do you still get excited about trade shows? Of course, you can see on screen joining us, John Resnick, who was with us on the last show. Welcome back again. Now you're the official third guest. We'll see if the rest of the crew, I know Greg and Matt from Okayest Fisher, we're going to try and pop on. If they get here at some point in time throughout the evening, we'll just jump in with them and have them weigh on some stuff. But if you're not familiar, it's trade show season for no matter what industry you're in, no matter what you're doing. In fact, Greg has been at a few trade shows. Right now, he's actually the reason not here. He's on the road traveling for his like normal 9-to-5 job like the rest of us. You know, we don't just get paid to talk crap on the internet or fish or hunt or camp or whatever it is that we do. We have to work for a living just like you. So we'll see if he gets on. But when it comes to trade shows, there's trade shows for everything, whether it's just in an industry related thing or it's a customer based thing. I mean, think about where you live, how many times there's some sort of like hunting show, or there's a fishing show or a camping show or whatever it is. Of course, you know, where we are in Southeast Wisconsin, one of the big ones in the state, held at like our state fair grounds every year is the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel Sports Show, or unfortunately, as I've called it, it's become the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel Windows, Gutters, and Doors Show, because it's become less and less about the outdoors stuff. I attended the camping show this year, which is again the same thing. That's actually pretty legit. I mean, a lot of the big places that sell campers come and demo, and that's a great experience. So that was like kind of those shows that I thought was great. But the whole reason we get into talking about shows is this week, and like specifically right now as we're recording the show, we're doing it, you know, the night ahead essentially. iCast is going on in Orlando, Florida, which iCast is the world's largest fishing trade show where all of the major manufacturers and brands of anything to do with fishing or outdoors related fishing stuff releases their new products, and people come in from the media and stuff and demo it and can see it, and talk about it, and get excited about all these new products. And it's just a way to drum up business for new stuff and high traffic. Is that a big semi press?
No, it's crotch rockets driving by.
So there's like sitting here talking like so for anyone doesn't follow, by the way, again, we are obviously a YouTube stream. You can watch us on YouTube each and every Thursday evening. Also, you can follow us on our socials at Camp Okayest, where we got a bunch of content and stuff that we throw up there from time to time, like almost daily from time to time. But yeah, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're just listening wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure to pop over to the YouTube channel, again, at Camp Okayest. Give us a subscribe, give us a follow, all of those things, because eventually we want this to be a live show each and every Thursday evening right here where you can call in, take apart, whatever. So like, let's get to that subscriber count. Let's get there, and make sure if you're listening and wherever you listen to podcasts, rate us, give us 5 stars for, you know what, 1 star if you don't like us. I'm fine. I appreciate the honesty more than anything. Like, because we're going to be honest a lot in this show as we start talking about not only just trade shows in general, but I'm going to go through some of these new products and things that are released for fishing. And it's a lot targeted, obviously, at anglers and at fishing. So if fishing's not your thing, like, I get it, but I still think there could be use in other areas for some of this stuff. So without further ado, I think we're just going to jump in. I'm actually just going to like share my screen and jump around to some of the stuff. I've got a couple different websites up that I'll go through, and some of the stuff may repeat, but I think this is just the easiest way to show it. So like if you're watching on YouTube, you can actually see the product. And then obviously, like as we're talking about it, we'll be describe it and talk about some of these new things coming out. But I will say that there's definitely one thing that I've noticed with all of the new stuff at iCast this year. There's 2 trends. Everything that's coming out bait-wise anyway. That's weird. There's like hand signals that do things. This is going to give it... Anyway, that was weird. See, there it is. The AI with this streaming thing is absolutely bonkers. Let's even get balloons to go again. If you're listening again, I put peace singles and balloons come up. I give a thumbs up and it gives a thumbs up on the screen. I talk with my hands. You're going to see lots of weird, crazy things if you're watching the stream. We're just going to ignore it. So back to the two trends that I've noticed. It's like I have ADD. Can you tell? Everything bait wise that's coming out is either enhanced for forward facing sonar or micro. Everything I swear that has come out it's all targeted toward advanced for showing up on forward facing sonar, or it is very small versions of current baits. Few things have gotten bigger. We'll get to some of that coming up, but I'm just going to jump right into it here. We'll go to first Tackle Warehouse, a very popular site for shopping and buying gear. They've got their what's trending, and of course, they've got a lot of people that are on the ground in Orlando at iCast. I'm hoping to be there next year to actually just do this from a hotel room and chat about things. But you've got your standard. Really, honestly, with rods and reels, Rez, how do you feel? Like, is there anything you can do that's drastically different, you think? Like, every year they come out with new stuff, but is it really that different than what was out last year or 5 years ago?
I don't know. I think you got to break it down to if you're a mechanic or not, right? Or mechanically inclined. I think you got to really break down the actual product to pieces to see what the difference is from last year's model. I mean, I used to buy $300 reels, but I just can't justify it. I don't know what the different technology is to make it that much better. I can understand the rods wise, but like the stuff that you see on the screen, the bait casting reel, the spinning reel, hooks may or may not be different. That I don't really explore that often, but and then rods. I mean, I don't know. I think you got to break it down piece by piece to see what the difference is.
Yeah. You mentioned the reels and stuff like that and the difference in pricing and, that you're not like buying expensive reels. You're much like me. You can see on my shoulder there in the back, there's a giant stack of PC Fun reels. And these things to me are absolutely, they're workhorses. They're great. I love them. And rumor has it they or Daiwas made at the same factory as another very much more expensive reel. In fact, actually, we can save you some cash on PC Fun reels. Use the code SR15. I can save you 15% on everything. I know they're good at doing like sales and stuff where like they'll give you discount codes where if you buy one, you get one like 50% off and stuff like that. Or they'll do like, up to 30% off or something of like select things. This is legit everything on the site. 15%. They do. I've tried some of their line. Like they have line. They've got backpacks. They've got rods. They've got reels. They've got boots. All kinds of stuff, fishing related. So if you want to check out Peace Fun, I thought I'd share along the code SR15. We'll get you some savings on things. But let's keep diving here through what Tackle Warehouse has got for their what's trending. This is kind of interesting here. The BKK armor, the like permalock weighted hook. A lot of times when you're fishing like worms and stuff like that, like I am a big fan of the screw lock. I think it does hold baits better, and your baits don't get as torn up as much. And instead of having to like stick a nail weight or something in it along with it, just to like get a little extra weight to it, to actually have a weight built into it, I think that's actually kind of a cool new product. I can't remember that I've ever seen something like this before. So like this one, I'm going to give like a thumbs up that this is probably a pretty cool new product that's going to be hitting the market.
I mean, I think it's pretty slick. I think you could finesse your bait down a little bit with that weighted screw lock in there, so you don't have to put as much weight, like a bullet sinker or whatever on there. I think that's pretty slick.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board with that. Couple different Evergreen has got their new crankbait line coming out. The colors are pretty cool on this one. I know Evergreen's one of those new companies that's kind of coming to the market. I believe from overseas, and mainly I've seen a lot of the like soft plastic stuff coming. This is the first like actual hard bait that I've seen from them, and this is like an extreme deep diving crankbait that they're releasing. I don't know what do they describe here. The shad body profile, razor sharp Japanese hooks. Yeah, I know they're from Japan. Down to 18 feet is this one. So like DT
Look at the hook.
18.
Look at the hook hangers on it though. You get 3 treble hooks instead of 2.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of cool. And some these colors are kind of cool. I mean, let's face it, colors basically they catch fishermen more than they catch fish.
I agree.
I feel like this what Matt Blueback shad, this thing looks like a slayer. That looks like an awesome color.
That would be a great color for up here, because you can imitate, baby gills, baby bluegills, the shad, edelwife. If you're fishing the Great Lakes, I don't throw deep diving crankbaits. If I'm out deep, I'm throwing a jig.
See, and I
That's
would even say, like, when you start getting to those blues and purples, it actually, to me, starts to give vibes of that you could imitate baby sheep's head. And let's be
yeah,
real, bass will eat
yeah,
sheep's head, and they kind of have that purplish hue to it.
yeah.
Here's another Imakatsu fly fish minnow. Again, this is going to be a forward-facing sonar type thing, and that's again kind of the trend. Jackal coming on with spoons. Not a lot of people really fish spoons in the north. It's kind of a southern thing, mainly a Texas thing. Rapala,
Keep that as a secret.
that's why I say it's just a Texas thing. Rapala last year came to the market with their soft plastics. This is one of the new ones in line this year, the Crush City Mooch Minnow, which I have not fished any of the Crush City like products. I think they're kind of interesting, but I haven't fished with any of them. So I mean, I can't say like durability or anything. And again, Mooch Minnow, this is meant to be either a drop shot or kind of your forward-facing like hover strolling type technique bait. It's got, the tail is set to kind of just quiver lightly. And again, you're going to see this from like a lot of manufacturers going to baits similar to that. The one that gets me, and I actually posted this where I'm going. I shot a video for it. I don't remember if I posted it or not yet on my Instagram. But Rapala coming out with their big Rocco. Was it 2 years ago they came out with the Rocco, which was their square bill. It was like dives down to 5 feet, and I love it. I think it's a fantastic square bill bait. It's got that balsa square bill, got like the tight wobble, a thing bounces off stuff. Awesome. You can float it out of stuff. But this is the one that like I'm kind of raising an eyebrow at it because of one major thing. And if you see it on the screen, it's that price.
Yeah,
$14.99.
that's steep.
And the only difference in this big Rocco versus the regular is this gets down to like 6 feet. So you're getting an extra foot and it's I get that everything's more expensive and prices are going up, but to me, just taking a bait that you're just putting basically a slightly bigger bill into it and increasing the price, I don't see justification for it, and I don't see a reason for it because, like, if you made this a 7 to 10 foot like square bill or something, you know what I mean? Like, you want to bounce it off some rocks a little bit deep. Like, I get that. Like, maybe I'm on board more. This is literally a foot difference. What honestly is the difference in that 12 inches? I mean, you could ask. I feel like there's a lot of jokes I could throw in there. I'm just going to move along from that. But you get my point. Like the price difference, I just don't think it quite adds up. Now, this is kind of a cool one. Their PXR Jowler. Now, this is one I believe Jacob Wheeler was a part of designing. Throws a ton of water because of the shape of that bill and the lip. So this is like your walking / popper mixed together.
It's your walking spook, your popping spook.
Right. So they say the unique cup mouth designed to produce hard cupping, splashing, walking, but then they've actually got some rattles in there that are meant to help change the distance you can cast it. I think it was Berkeley started doing this back when they came. Was it the what was their the flicker shad? Berkeley came with the flicker shad, which actually was intended a lot of like walleye fishing guys. Is they had kind of like that weight transfer system in them. So if you did decide to cast them versus trolling them, you could cast them a mile because that weight will like transfer and send it. And then that weight acts as a rattle in it as it's tracking through the water. So, I mean, I'm kind of on board. I think this is an interesting product. Price, again, I feel is a little steep for it. But if you start looking at a lot of like the mega bass type lures that are out, it's all in the same ballpark. So,
Yeah,
you think
I
about
agree. I mean, taking a look at the price of things now, 22 bucks for I think you get stuck on the Rapala name and paying a certain price for the Rapala. I think they're stepping up in a lot of different ways. I mean, their hooks over the years have only gotten better because they're using better hooks and all that kind of stuff.
Just going to say that is the one caveat to things that, especially with that specific bait, is they've stepped up to the VMC Redline hooks, which I can tell you for a fact those Redline hooks they're amazing. I freaking love them. Like the Fusion 19s that Berkeley came out with a couple years ago, those things I think are magnets. Like they will attract anything to them. Like you so much as breathe near them and you're going to be hooked. But seriously, those VMC Redlines are just as sticky. They are awesome, awesome hooks. That's about exclusively what I'm using, I think, is the Berkeley Fusion 19s and the Redlines. That's all I'm using for everything, whether it's like my wacky Nico stuff or my drop shots. it's all that now. And I was such a Gamakatsu guy for so long, and I made this switch. I mean, just really pricing and what you get for it. I feel like they've all stepped up and come along the same par, if not better than Gamakatsu.
I am a deal hunter when it comes to hooks. So I know way back when I was fishing tournament days, Walmart in like March up here would have like a mega clearance on all their terminal tackle pretty much. And I was getting Gamakatsu hooks for $1 a pack. And yeah, that was, oh God, that was like 7, 8 years ago. And I'm
Wow.
still riding on all those hooks that I bought because they were just so cheap that where's the cart? Just give me the whole rack, pull the whole rack off. And that's what I did.
That's a good way to go about things. I remember back when you're being a clam pro, you definitely get this when they came up with the Gensworm. Dave Gens into the Gensworm, and that was around for a couple years. There was a shop that had a bunch of them. They were closing out and closing, and they wanted to get rid of them. We literally walked in, we're like, I'll give you, I think it was like 20 cents per jig or something. Like it might have been less.
That's a steal.
Right. We bought out every Gensworm. I have got a lifetime supply of glow in the dark Gensworms.
And they still work. That's
Yeah,
the best thing is that bait's how old because Gens
Right.
hasn't been associated with Lindy for God knows how long, and Lindy produced it.
Yep.
I mean, guys are still buying them because they still catch fish.
Yeah. So if you're looking for Gensworms and you can't find them, hit me up or hit up us on socials. I have got a ton of Gensworms still laying around to the point where I can't use them all in my lifetime, so I will gladly share. Some of the swim bait stuff coming out. Savage Gear here, getting into the glide bait business with this one here, 7-inch glide bait. I kind of like the feathered treble situation that's going on with these. But again, treble hooks, glide baits. That's my biggest problem with glide baits is like, I just feel that you can't fish them around much cover. It's got to be more open stuff because they will just, you don't want to get hung up and drop a $25 bait or, some glide baits, let's face it, are hundreds of dollars. And that gets to be tricky, which you'll see some other stuff that's coming out that kind of plays along those lines. Now, this is something I talked about. Forward-facing sonar, Strike King, their homing minnow, which is basically the same thing as Berkeley last year came with that power bait switch, which was a small minnow imitation made forward-facing sonar. I really, it basically has to do with the composition of the plastic and mainly the composition of the jig head itself. Things that are denser than water show up better on forward-facing sonar. That's how the technology works. So they're finding ways to enhance and make things more dense or more reflective of that signal, so it'll show up better. And I've legit seen it with certain baits. Some things to me will show up better on my live scope than things that aren't as, we'll say, dense, which is kind of crazy that it comes down to density of things of what shows up. But that's one that's gonna, I think, really compete with what Berkeley did last year. This is the homing minnow and the price. They say they've got a deal here. It's down, save 20 cents on what Tackle Warehouse, $5.79. That's cheaper than what the Berkeley ones are. And let's see how many comes per package. 3. So what is the small ones? The Berkeley, I think you get 3 per package, and it's like almost $10. So this is a lot cheaper than the Berkeley one, so kind of undercutting them. And it's relatively the same thing, except for this is a paddle tail versus that pointed tail that Berkeley had last year. So I think almost a little more versatility where you can kind of hover stroll it, as that's become the new word we use for that whole ping and a minnow situation. Or really, you could just kind of use this almost like a swim jig and just slow swim it with that paddle tail would work out well.
That would have been awesome up in Door County this year.
Yeah. The Rage Buzz Minnow from Strike King, another one of theirs, which is kind of just a toad, basically. But instead of like the 2 legs out the side, one up the top so it swims, you're going to use it like a toad on top. Kind of interesting new concept of things. I know I've been checking a lot more of the Japanese import tackle stuff lately. Just kind of seeing the trends there.
So for Strike King for that rage minnow there, they had a frog, or they had a similar bait like that. But it's cool on how baits or how companies modify their baits to make them work different in the water. Because their original top water that was similar to that, it didn't have the the bottom on it to ride up on the water. It almost looked
Mhm.
like a gill at that point, like a
Yeah.
gilly or something like that. So that's cool how they modify that over the course of years.
Again, some things slightly changed. Some things changed, some things are still the same. Here's another kind of walking bait from Treckle USA, also coming out with a mega squeaker of a buzz bait. And I think this is interesting they're doing. Instead of just like the straight head knocker style, you can see this here, they've actually got a small like ball bearing built into the head that when that blade spins around, it causes even more of that like ticking and squeaking as it's going through the water.
When I saw those were the ones that really caught my eye. I was like, ooh, $18 for a top water. I really don't throw buzz baits all that often. All right, give me like black, give me white.
Black on black. This black
Yep.
on black would be a Slayer, and
Can,
then that maybe this
can
like no, I'm gonna go. No, they don't even have a like a white on white. That's interesting. The
can
black,
you
blue,
scroll down a
silver.
little bit to see
That's
what's the weight
oh,
on it? Half ounce?
I believe they're all half ounce. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you get bluegill, chartreuse white with a gold blade. I love a good black on black. Oh, so here's the white with a silver. It looked more of like a gray. So yeah, that I think that one would slay. And then I
Yeah.
don't know what this little like gnarl situation that they have in here. I'm sure that adds
That's a
to part of the
squeaker.
squeaking. Yeah.
Yep.
So like having that there is also going to protect a lot of that head. So like I've thrown the crocagator like head knockers, and those
Mm-hmm.
things make a ton of noise, like clack clack clack. Clack. It's awesome. But after 4 or 5 casts, you just chip half the paint off of it. Like it destroys the paint off of the head by just clacking around. And so this is going to eliminate like destroying the paint because instead that like ball bearing is going to take all of that, clacking. I think it's a cool design. I think it's a cool idea. I haven't seen anyone else do that in the past. So I mean that's one that's going to get my thumbs up. Again, $18 top water. I'm gonna be a little. I'm gonna be a little pissed off. A pike takes that from me at some point in time, but I probably will add one, possibly two of those to my arsenal if they really are as loud as they say and is squeaky and all that stuff. That's gonna be awesome. Again, VMC, their red line hooks. We just talked about those coming out with double willow spinner baits. I wish that was a willow in Colorado because that's my favorite spinner bait to throw. I love to do that tandem with a willow and a Colorado. So you get like the flash of the willow and the thump of the Colorado. You go through my box, about every one of my spinner baits is that exact combo. I don't do a whole lot of like single Colorado or willow to willow. It's one in each because I want the thump, I want the flash. But again, this is going to be those VMC redline hooks, which are sticky, which are awesome. That's going to be a cool spinner bait. Price, I think, is a little steep at $12.99 for a spinner bait, considering there's a lot of other ones out there that are just as fishable, just as good. Like Berkeley, again with their Fusion 19 hooks, they've got like I love the what do they call them? They're smaller. They're like a half ounce is still a half ounce, but it's like the size of like a quarter ounce smaller spinnerbait. Like it's very compact, much smaller. I think that's a really, really good bait. I'm a big fan of that for a spinnerbait, and it's only is it $8.99, $9.99 for those. So this is a little more expensive. Is it worth it? I guess that's up to you. Yamamoto Shape Shad. Again, just a normal spinner. Yamamoto Nuki Bug. They've come out with a lot of baits. Yamamoto the last couple of years since they were acquired by a new company. Moon Eye Jig. That's kind of been around forever, but this being a tungsten version of the Moon Eye Jig from VMC, I mean, that could apply to a lot of things. Bass fishing, walleye fishing, ice fishing, you name it. Here's a great one. The tungsten swim bait head, VMC Redline. And that's one of those like custom, like painted where it's not supposed to chip type heads, which again is going to be great for that strolling technique, great for forward facing sonar. Here we go. Berkeley coming into the mix with the power bait drip minnow, which is basically the power bait switch without the jig head in it. It looks exactly the same, but these are all apparently in a like translucent color, and they have a flash thing inside, so it's going to give you that appearance of a minnow. And some of these colors I think look great, from that black shad to this ghost perch. So they shine more, and they have something in the head that puts off more of a glare that fish are going to notice them better. And they're all
Ooh,
those
they got a goby color. Go back up.
yeah, it's all these HD patterns. So there's your
That's
goby.
that's pretty slick.
Yeah, I mean, I could see just throwing this on a big old jig head and swimming that around, if you're a smallmouth guy, or really even using that as a drop shot. That would make a great drop shot bait.
I mean, and it comes in a 3-inch too, so you could
Correct.
Ned rig it too.
Yeah. 3, 4, and 5 inch coming with that, $8.99. Let me check you back again how many comes per package on that one. So the 3-inch, 6, 5, 4. That's not too bad. I think that's a pretty fair price. Good for Berkeley. Here's one that I love that they've done, coming out with an unrigged cull shad. I freaking love this. In the 5 and the 6-inch. So it's, they come out normally, like right now, I think it's a 3, a 6, and a 9 is what the cull shad is. I've got the 6-inch. I've thrown the 6-inch a ton. I've caught 3 fish on on that so far this year. I haven't thrown it a bunch, but I've caught some fish on. I think it's a really awesome entry level, like big swim bait and a soft body swim bait. The rigged one is the way to go. But if you know how to rig these, you could totally rig this line through in the best way. And that's kind of what looking at the cull shed, like the actual one I have, I kept thinking, I was like, man, I wish this wasn't rigged because I'd love to line through rig this thing because I feel like it would hold up better. And, doing like, what was it? Zaldane, a couple years ago, they came out with his Zaldangerous or whatever it was, his swim bait, which was the same thing as the mag draft. And being able to like line through that on your own, which I've done, I think is really awesome. So props to Berkeley to do this and to make it so much more affordable. Like the cull shad, the 6-inch alone, I think is about $10. So now to give you an option to buy them in a quantity of 2 or 3 for that same price, if you want to go through the work to rig them yourself, dude, that's awesome. You knew it was a matter of time before they were going to actually bring that out. So props to them for that. This is an interesting one from Buckeye. Swim bait jig head. So it's got the twist lock that you put your swim bait on. 2 different places where you could line tie. So you could tie it on the nose like a regular swim jig, or you could tie it up top and use it in that vertical strolling presentation. Kind of cool.
That's kind of like a not a knockoff, but that's kind of like a man's little George, which has the tail spinner back where that screw lock is.
Yeah, that's a, you know what? You're right. Now you say that, I can't unsee it ever. Great Lakes Finesse. This is one that they released a couple of weeks ago, actually started talking about it, which I love when companies give us a little bit of a heads up on it. The hover minnow. And this is basically strictly meant for that forward-facing hover strolling type technology. It's got the bottom of it is actually cupped. So it kind of floats and just shimmies down, but yet you can, jerk it. I like the design. I like the idea. I like a lot of stuff Great Lakes Finesse is coming out with. I mean, it'll catch everything, but let's face it, they're basically looking at targeting smallmouth. They've got their matte finish on their finesse jig. I mean, you've been with me when I was throwing some of their stuff. I've got the tiny underspin that they run. What else was I throwing? The little craw that they have. Why am I drawing a
juvie craw?
Thank you, juvie craw. Still on the juvie craw. I'm still yet to catch a fish on the juvie craw, by the way. Which is shocking.
But we talked about that before we went up to Door County. It's like, ooh, look at this. How many packs should I buy? And then I was like, I got so much crap anyway. I don't need any more.
And then I went and bought them because I have so much crap and don't need any more, but I had to try it. Let's see here once. A couple of the Z-Man Shatter Shad, which is similar to something I've already had out. Net Fuel. Here's another good one, Micro Missile Baits, the Micro D-Bomb. That's, again, going on the trend where everyone's doing things smaller and going to small baits. Z-Man with the Shadtron. Now, last year they came out with the Mulletron, which is their line-through soft swim bait. Now they're doing a smaller version meant for freshwater versus saltwater. I think that's kind of cool. And then Z-Man, their Elite Evo. Well, last year they came out with it, which is, to me, an awesome chatterbait. Now they're doing it tungsten, and the price tag going up to the same price as the jackhammers. Now, the thing to me that's interesting about that is I've been a big fan of the Burpee Slobber Knocker since it came out. Fished it a lot. This year I decided I'm going to give that Evo a try because it's actually now cheaper than the Slobber Knocker. And this is the black blue. This is one I have. So it's got, where the blade connects right there. Nice big eye, reflective, painted, nice skirt. This one's got paint on the blade, but it's the standard Z-Man chatterbait blade. This thing, 1/2 ounce, it's written right on the bottom. They're great. It's an awesome chatterbait. I absolutely love it, and I've almost kind of switched away from the Slobber Knocker to this. I mean, they're very similar. The one thing I will say, I actually might say is better is this is a Slobber Knocker after a while of chattering around, all because of the way that they've got their head, where the blade goes into the head. It chips up a bit of the nose and the paint. And this doesn't do that. But I'm at Cabela's the other day looking for chatterbaits because apparently for some reason I'm out of I didn't have any Evos that are white and stuff. I know I got some ones that you tied for me. but I wanted something a little smaller, essentially, and with a couple more colors and things. But I came across these Best Pro Stops XPS Chatterbomb. It says right on the package by Z-Man. I'm gonna show you this. This is interesting. This is the Chatterbomb. This is the Evo. They are the exact freaking same bait. The eye is set slightly different. The blade is the exact same blade. It attaches the exact same way. The only difference is the trailer holder. This is like your standard kind of cheap jig, just, barbs essentially. This has got kind of like a little weight, ridges, and that little wire keeper on there. And it's like the skirting is wire tied on versus this is just like the standard, like cheap rubber band. That's really it. But the price difference, $9.99, $7.99, might even be $6.99, but we'll call it $7.99, is $2 worth this hook keeper and like wire tied on versus this. I mean,
Are they both tungsten?
these are not tungsten, and that's the point I
Okay.
was going to say. These, neither of them are tungsten. So that's where it really becomes a thing. If it's not a big deal to be tungsten, when you're going $15.99 for an Evo tungsten versus this at $7.99 non-tungsten, you could buy two of these for one of the tungsten Evo. And I'm not like you do you whatever you buy, but if you're someone that's like on a budget or like a normal everyday weekend type person, do you really need it? Is it going to make that much of a difference? I mean, you can save yourself a bunch of cash. Again, not sponsored, not affiliated, nothing with it, but I just saw it and I thought it was an interesting tip that I would share, that these chatter bombs are the exact same thing as the Z-Man Elite Evo. So
that's the fishing industry in general. Let's just be real. That, like, when Gander Mountain was still around, Sunline made Gander Mountain
Yep.
fluorocarbon. Who made their reels? Quantum made Gander Mountain reels. 13 Fishing made Gander Mountain rods, or at least some of the series. So it's like, you got to know what you're looking for. Ooh, you got a tall boy hams.
Oh yeah, we're this is number 2 for the night, by the way. We're
Oh,
we're
nice.
sipping the 16-ounce hams in the house tonight. Don't knock hams, it's the greatest beer.
I love it.
All right.
All my buddies make fun of me for drinking it, but it's a great beer.
Yeah, well, all right. We're going to continue on. I'm trying not to drag this out too long if things are boring anyone too much, but I just really think it's important to kind of show some of these things, again, to point out some of the trends, and a lot of the things are repeated same thing. Bunch of different braids. A lot of it is coming down, again, thinner diameter, better, stronger, trying to catch up a lot of the Japanese brands, which, let's face it, as I've poked around more and more on some of that, like, Japanese stuff, they're a lot ahead of what is being manufactured in the US. So let's go over now to Bassmaster.com and their new product showcase, which breaks it down. Here's that juvie cry that we talked about. I think it's a great new concept on a tube. I've got another finesse small tube that I think is going to be really good too. That's just coming out, but I don't want to allude to it too fast because, well, it is a sponsor of mine, and it's not about my sponsor, but just about a new product. Combat Rat. This is one from Evergreen. All right, coming out of Japan. The price of it, I think I saw, was like $24.99, and it's just a wake bait that's going to look like you're basically a mouse. It's got the tail, and it's the jointed wake bait situation. I'm sure it'll catch fish. I just don't know if I'm going to spend $25 on a rat wake bait. I just feel that there's other topwater techniques and presentations or other lures that would do the same thing. Just my personal opinion, but I think it's a different take. Here's another look at that new jowler from Rapala. You can kind of get a little better picture about how it's that like walking spook type thing. I love that chartreuse color, by the way. I think that slay. Here's the Strike King hardliner, which looks really, really similar to the OG that Rapala came out with a couple years ago. That flat-sided balsa bait, the computer chip build. It literally, shouldn't say literally, it actually looks like a straight replica of the OG, which I love the OG. It's a fantastic bait. I've caught a ton of fish. OG Helsinki shad is the color. Stock your box with them. That to me is the best. My secret's out. But this to me looks like the same thing. Again, 5 to 7 feet. It's a good. I mean, I haven't seen the price of what the hardliner is going to sell for. If it's cheaper than the Rapala, however you want to say it, buy the Strike King. It looks exactly the same. I'm sure it's going to fish exactly the same. Here's another one of the buzz baits. This is just a standard. To me, it doesn't do anything. It looks exactly like the Crocagator that I mentioned. Looks exactly the same. Booyah, another jerkbait, which jerkbaits, I think last year was the year for jerkbaits, and anyone that didn't release a jerkbait last year is releasing one this year. This one, however, is a little bit different, where, again, they've built this to be forward-facing sonar capable. They've actually got like a blade, like a willow blade inside the plastic of the bait that's supposed to help, again, reflect that signal better and throw off more flash. So, again, there's the trend. All about forward-facing sonar. Bill Lewis, again, this is another one. Depth charge, built to reflect more in forward-facing sonar. Here's the Spro Tiny. This, what is it, the CJ7 or what is it? The Little John, sorry, it's not the Chris Johnson one. Little John Micro 45. So this is like a 2 to 3 foot diving crankbait. Yamamoto, there's that. We already saw that one before. We saw this, bug from them as well. There's their little Big Bite coming out. Big Bite. This is interesting. Oh, I wish I could see. I wish I had a better picture of the actual bait. This to me reminds me of the bait that Taku Imori was throwing at the last tournament that he won in the Elite Series. It's that real like flat, kind of weird looking thing with like 2 little appendages that stick up. This is they're calling it the best skipper ever. It's meant literally skipping at a docks. It's flat to be like skipped and thrown. Like if you ever skipped a stone across a piece of water. That's the design of this, and it's a really interesting look. That's one that I'm like, okay, they're going outside the box, they're doing something different. I'm on board with what Big Bite's doing with that best skipper. I'll probably find myself buying a package of them. The Bass Mooch.
I feel a competition coming on for skipping. So, all right, I'm throwing a challenge out there with the Okayest Fisher guys. Let's do this, Ritter. Okay. Let's buy a case of those, or a bag of them, and then we're gonna have a competition with bait casters to see who can skip the farthest with the least amount of backlashes.
That'd be, you know what? I like where you're going with this, because I mean, yeah, I will struggle at times with the skipping with the bait caster sometimes. Matt throws a lot with a bait caster, but he's a musky fisherman, so he's not doing as much of the skipping, but he was a bass guy. I feel like I'm gonna put my money on Matt's probably gonna win it, period. I would put money on Matt at this point. Like, I'm gonna take myself right out of the running.
Oh, I'm terrible with it. I will spend like $40 on a spool of fluorocarbon and retie and cut and all sorts of crap.
All right. Well, so there's a new one. This is one that Hank Cherry was a part of designing. Yes, it was Hank Cherry. I see it right there. If I could read writing, the Bass Moot Shovel Tail. So this is a small, like, kind of swim bait style, but it's flat on both sides and has a weird, like, spade shaped tail to it that, again, is forward facing sonar, but it can be used for a drop shot. It can be used on a jig. It can be used, a lot of different ways. This to me reminds me again of something that comes straight out of Japan, kind of the different type baits and stuff. Here's that Strike King hover minnow again. Again, we're on bassmaster.com, just kind of showing it here. Live Target coming back with a soft body frog, which is Live Target. Their thing is always looking very realistic. They've got a soft body frog, and they come up with a craw. That same thing. The craw has like some floating stuff to it, so the appendages move a lot more. I'm on the fence on where I sit with that. I know, to me, I think their best bait ever is going to be the Dark Sleeper. Like that, they could just run to the bank with the Dark Sleeper. Here's another kind of wake style bait. Have you seen this, Rez? It's built like a topwater frog. Yeah, yep. But again, with the single, like, one paddle tail, much like what did we see earlier that was doing that? Was that Strike King? Mm-hmm. The frog, like, this is the same concept, but it's like built as a hollow body frog. Kind of interesting, kind of cool.
Something different.
There's a good look at that micro D-bomb. You can see just how truly small it is. There's a guy holding in his hand in this photo. It covers 3 fingers. I mean, that's your, like, bug flipping bait. Like, it's the size of your middle, index, and ring finger together. That's a pretty small bait. So again, it's on that theory, like I've said, about everything going micro, or everything forward-facing sonar. Jackal in their Drift Fry. This is a 4-inch soft bait, but it's got a like
It's got a
plastic
lip on it.
lip on it. Yes. And this is meant for that mid hover strolling, again, forward facing technique. And apparently, with that lip, it's supposed to hold it better in place and allow the tail to just twitch more. So you can like have lesser, like light touches, and the tail will swim more and will do it in place. Something with that lip, I'll be curious to see that in action. And this is where, again, being at a trade show and seeing things in action does better than just like flipping through pictures that people post online. But, again, I think just talking about things and explaining it and showing some of it here again on the YouTube stream is a good way to take it out. Again, as I'm scrolling through, it's a bunch of jigs. I mean,
Hold on, scroll back up. I think that's that one right there. I think that's an all metal swim bait, if I remember correctly.
First metal swim bait, Gomexis. There's cyber bait. It's a metal glide bait. It's got X stretch. It's different swimming out. I'm trying to read stuff here real quick, but a metal. I don't know, metal swim bait. What are your thoughts on that, Rez?
I don't know. I throw a lot of swim baits, bigger, big swim baits like that. I don't know. I'm still like, give me the cheap River to Seas 120 or 168 S waiver. I mean, for like $25 or whatever, I think it's the best bang for your buck because I do throw like the DRT tiny clashes that are $100 a piece, and I haven't caught crap on them yet.
Yeah. Another swim bait here, 6-inch trick shed, Buka brand, famous Mike Buka and all he's done with swim baits and the whole swim bait community he's built out on the West Coast. So doing a 6-inch kind of smaller version of things, a little bit better price point. I think I saw this one comes in. Did I see it was around like $50? So that's really not bad. Most of Buka's baits are a lot more expensive, so that's a little better price point to get into things. Trying to see anything stands out again. Rods, reels, like we talked about. It's kind of mechanically things are different. Sunglasses, there's not a whole lot of different things. Loran's working on theirs. I did see that Power Pole did come out with a trolling motor that is shorter shaft built for kayaks, which that's kind of cool.
What's his face from Chad Hoover was talking about it. It's a 36-inch shaft, 24 or 36 volt for kayaks. He said that with a 36 volt, he should see 10 miles an hour with it. On average, they're getting 8 miles an hour pulling a kayak with it.
That literally doubles what I get out of my XI3. Like I do like 4 with my XI3.
With battery and lithium technologies getting better and better, I guarantee you there's going to be guys that are going to start running 36 volt trolling motors on their boats now or at their kayaks.
Well, I mean, it already is. You've got the stuff from Newport Vessels, and Newport runs on 36 volt system, and they've got the NK 360, and I mean, it's literally become to the point where kayaks are becoming now the new bass boat, which one just came on the market, released yesterday, like day one of iCast came out, and it was bona fide. It is a 12.5 foot. It's 41.5 inches wide. Now my New Canoe Unlimited is 44, so it's a lot quite as wide. But this thing literally has a full upper deck like a bass boat would have. It's built again. So apparently the company that owns Bonafide also now owns New Canoe. So they took a lot from what New Canoe is doing and built it into this new Bonafide and really truly made it like a very small bass boat. With the casting deck up front, they've set it where you can put 2 seats on it. They've got a bunch of storage all built in. They've literally got like rod storage built on the side of it. Everything's all pre-rigged. It's a really cool vessel. I dig it. I haven't seen the price on it, but what I don't dig on is the weight. It's almost twice the weight as my New Canoe Unlimited. Like you're talking just shy of 200 pounds. I think it's like 155. That's heavy for a kayak.
Yeah, that's real heavy.
You basically have to trailer that. I mean, you can truck bed it, but you're not car topping something like that. So, you're really niching yourself on that market. And are they basically trying to be a Hobie? But to me, again, you look at the Hobies and they've been around forever, and you look at what you could do with the Pro Angler 12 or 14, you can still truck bed those things.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as heavy as that. That to me, and basically they're built to have like a Newport, an NK 180, NK 300, whatever on the back of it. And then you've got your trolling motor up front for, you use the back motor to run out like you would your big motor on a bass boat. And then when you're moving around, use the trolling motor. That's basically how they built this kayak. And I think it's an awesome kayak. I just think it's not for me necessarily.
Right.
But I mean, if you're just looking for a small bass boat that's a little more affordable, I'm gonna guess the price tag on it's gonna come around like $4,000. If I'm just gonna take a guess based on features, based on what they have built into it, what it is, I feel like it's gonna come around $4,000. Rapala coming out here with their digital scale. This scale, by the way, is I think I saw it was $200. Yep, digital
Ooh,
scale.
rough.
Hard pass on me. Trying to think some other things that stood out to me as I'm trying to like blow through here. I know AFCO, they've kind of taken a beating on my social medias. AFCO makes great products. I'm not saying bad about AFCO at all, but they came out with a new set of rain gear that is over $1,000 for the bibs and jacket. And to me, it doesn't. I get it's great, and let's face it, with anything you buy, you're paying for comfort. The more you spend on something, it's gonna be more comfortable. Whether it's clothes, whether it's a car, a truck, a boat, a computer, a pen, whatever it is. Anytime you spend more on something than a cheaper option, you're basically paying for comfort. Yes, things are better, but that equates also to making things more comfortable. That's kind of my feel on
Hmm.
it, where I was like, I just can't justify. And I think I posted this on all of my socials when I, shared when they first came out with this suit and I was talking about it, was I heard rumblings and people have said it, on different socials, that sometimes it feels like the professional fishing industry is pricing us normal people out of fishing. And it's things like this that to me convey that same message. I just it's hard to tell someone you have to have, you know, 8 to 10 $500-$600 rod and reel combos, then hundreds of dollars in baits. Now you've got to get, $5,000 in electronics and $1,000 in a rain suit. Like it starts to add up to the point where you're like, pump the brakes a bit. I
Yeah,
just
you got to take a home equity line out to just afford to go fish for a weekend.
and it shouldn't be that way. That's not what it's about.
Hmm.
That's not
Right.
where it came from. And that's kind of the problem I have with it. I'm sure it's a fantastic product. And I know that most rain gear for a good set of bibs and a jacket, you're going to spend we'll call it $500 to $800.
Yep. I
But
mean, that's what I spent on my rain gear was, it was like close to that $800 mark, and that stuff I love it.
to me,
It's
what's
comfortable.
what's the difference though, Rez, in a $500 like setup and 1,000?
Um, Now because I'm
The
on the
fact that you
clan
like,
team with the
but,
Blackfish,
but the fact you
so
even have to think about it to me proves my point. Like, how much can be that different?
so you are right, but there is a breathability factor and the fabric that they use. Um, but I mean, once again, you're diving. You got to know what you're looking at with breathability. Because you can go out and buy frog togs that are super breathable, but
20
then
bucks or whatever the pair.
exactly. I mean, I ran them when I fished tournaments starting off. I ran frog togs all the time,
Yeah.
and it's what I could afford. And then as I grew up and started making better money, I could afford nicer things. Um, but it comes down to like breathability factor. Now, some rain gear after a couple washes, the treatment on it goes away, so it's less waterproof. With the higher end stuff, the more washes that you get, the better it becomes breathability and all
Oh,
that
you,
kind of stuff.
you
So
wash your rain gear? I
I
don't wash
wash my
mine.
rain gear. I
I
wash
love
it like 2 or 3 times a year.
I love to have my rain gear smelling real aquatic.
Mm-mm. Nope. I get yelled at by the wife as soon as I walk in. You stink. Well, sorry.
Considering my rain gear has gotten use every single freaking tournament so far this year. Oh yeah, she's real aquatic at this point. That's real aquatic.
Right. Seasoned, well seasoned.
Well seasoned. That's a great way to say it. All right, I'm gonna jump over to another one of my sponsor friends over at Omnia Fishing. They've got their iCast release, a couple things out here, and they've even got literally on their site where you can get emailed when these new products come in stock. And I thought that's kind of cool that they've got that all set up with a bunch of stuff. Again, rods, reels. I'm not going to bore you through all of that. We've talked about a bunch of these baits, the mooch minnow, all this and that. You can check these out. You can literally just go on. Here's the interesting one from Yecrack, the bellows minnow, which became a big thing, kind of a bluegill imitation. This is a floating version of it. It's the weird ripply, kind of shaped like a bluegill, but it's all those weird.
It's like a zipper worm, an old school zipper worm.
Yeah, it's like really hard to describe, to paint the picture for you if you're not actually watching and seeing the YouTube stream. So again, you can go look at it. Great Lakes Finesse. We mentioned the hover minnow. Their drop minnow's been out for a while, but they're kind of considering that an iCast release and some new, colors coming with that. Raid Japan, again, the roller jerk minnow. It's a hover strolling type thing. It's just literally everyone is coming out with hover strolling stuff. Nothing too new there.
See, and that would all be drop shot baits for me because I don't have live scope yet.
Well, we'll have to work on that. And you know what? Even like I've talked to you about the whole aspect of live scope, and like I use it. Obviously, this is the first year I have it, and I use it a ton. But I don't necessarily use it. I think like some people do. Or I don't think about it like, oh, I'm gonna get live scope, and it's just like instantly I'm gonna be catching fish because I have live scope. I use
Mm-hmm.
it to like find weed lines or to see, like really honestly, finding weed lines has been the biggest thing because I can roll up in an area and start coming up to it, and I can see when the weed line's coming up, and I can stop off of it, and I can pan around, and I can like basically see where this line is, and I can work my way across it. Yes, sometimes I can like see fish into it, but I've also really this I'm going to give a little bit of the juice here. This is the juice of how I've used it a lot. Is when you get into some of that thick weed stuff, there's still holes in there, right? With
Mm-hmm.
forward-facing sonar, I can see where those holes are that I pan through, and I can cast out and quick, like, kind of move a bait over the top of the grass or whatever and let it drop down into those holes. That's what I've been able to do and catch fish. So, like, that's what I'm using, not necessarily, like, thinking, like, "Oh, I'm just casting it out and, like, I'm watching fish and, like, seeing how they react to my bait." No, I did that in Door County back up, in my last tournament, and I absolutely got smoked. It's more frustrating to watch fish not bite your bait than it is anything. So I've just really found it very useful for finding holes and finding weed edges, and I just think it's made me far more efficient. Whereas if you just have your standard, imaging, you kind of have to like get over the top of it and be like, okay, well, you see your down imaging, okay, I'm over the weeds now, and you back out of it, you're like, okay, now I'm not, and you just kind of got to
Mm-hmm.
like keep going back and forth to find that line. Whereas with forward facing, you can just pan out and see it, whether it's 360 or it's like straight forward facing. I mean, it has its benefit for that. That's how I use it. Everyone uses it
Right.
differently, but that's kind of my juice of how I use it. I'm trying to see anything else that was on Omnia's site that I wanted to point out. It came out, Rod Glove. They're now doing forward facing sonar gloves. Love all their products. The one that I didn't see on here, and it's one that I again brought up from AFCO, is they've got a landing net that is $299.
Is it a musky nut?
No, it's like a standard kind of net.
Oof,
I don't see
that's
it. I can't justify it. It just seems crazy to spend that much money on a net. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I mean I could see it. I could see it with a musky nut because of the sheer size, the amount that you got to product that you got to put into it. But if it's a standard bass net, that's rough.
It's gonna go on my socials, and I don't want a picture of it. By the way, you like the smallmouth phone
I
case?
love it.
Shout out to my wife for that. But Seagar came out with like line storage, and I think this is really cool. So it's kind of like a soft side case that you can put spools of line in. They do like three, I think it's 3 or 6 spools that go in it. And it makes you can easily like pull your line out. Like I'm thinking right away, I'm going, this is a great solution to keep your spools together because how people store their line in their boat or whatever, it can be a mess. For me, mainly I'm using it for leader line, or if I have like
Hmm.
an absolute disaster that I have to kind of quickly respool something out in the water, I like to have it. So I keep 2 to 3 spools in like a little plastic tote thing essentially in my crate that sits behind me. This will be even easier because the line like comes right through it, and I can just, quick grab, pull it right off. I don't have to like open 2, 3 things up, pull it out. Like I can literally just reach, grab it, pull it, snip it, or tie it on and spool it up. Like I think it's a really cool solution. And price wise, it comes in. I think the one that holds 3 spools is like $15, and the bigger one's like 25. It's
Oh,
not
that's a
to me.
steal.
Right.
That
I think like
that's
for the
good.
convenience of it, you'll get your money's worth out of that one. That's actually a pretty decent product. The other one that got me, I think, is really cool. St. Croix Black Bass series rods. A lot last year was about their physics series they came out with. And I noticed in the last couple of months, they've been like clearancing out a lot of their Bass X stuff. All of my rods are now
Hmm.
Bass X. I've literally just made the jump. I'm not saying these are like great starter rods, but this is kind of that like next upgrade. The fact that this is a rod that you're going to be able to get that is super high quality with a 5-year warranty. for under $200. I seriously, if you're looking to upgrade anything, that new black bass series from St. Croix is going to be awesome. They retail anywhere from, I think it's 145 to the most expensive one's 185.
Oh,
Not
so
even touching plus.
that's competing with like Mojo. Because
Yeah,
Mojo for a while that was like $100 rod, and they started creeping up on price a little bit, and yeah, that's not a bad price at all.
and they've completely clearanced all of the Mojo series out. To the point right now, I believe they're actually doing if you go to their factory site, yes, St. Croix rods, they have a factory store and a factory site where you can buy stuff for cheap. They've got literally combos, spinning and casting of the Mojo bass rods with a reel for, I think the spinning combo is like 140. Is it 160? And like literally the reel that they're putting, I think it's a quantum reel that retails for around like 135. So like what they're charging with the rod and the reel is as much as the reel is worth. And I think it's also a quantum reel. It's on the bait caster. And that one's like roughly around the same ish price too. So like it's steel, it's limited quantities left. Again, if you're looking for something, there's just something I found. I'm here to help you all out. I'm not, not here just like sell and push things. But I talked about the chatter bombs. I did not talk about X Zone Pro Series lures and one of my sponsors. You knew about it, but they gave me a bunch of their new finesse series baits that they just dropped here at iCast. These things are wicked. They've got a like 2.75 tube that's coming out as part of this new stealth finesse series, which will be available. I talked to my guys over there August 1st. It's going to come available. And actually, I think we're going to have Zach on this show, just kind of talk about what it's like owning a bait company and just the general fishing industry and kind of get a feel for things. And, because where they've come from being a very small company in Canada to kind of scaling up and what they do and working with, professional anglers and like, just mediocre, okay guys like me. It's a great company. And what I love about this new Stealth Finesse series is, I don't know if you can see this and read this, but it says right on there, not only is it like floating, it's neutrally buoyant, but it's scented. These are scented with real shad. Like it is embedded into the bait. The craws are with, like, I will open the package here. I wish smell-o-vision was a thing. So here's the craws. They look like realistic as hell, but it comes in like this little clamshell, and it legit smells like a crawfish. Like not like power bait even, like, and they see it's kind of like got like a little film jelly-ish type, but it's like actually embedded in the bait too, and it's neutrally buoyant. This thing on a Ned head is freaking awesome, and it stands up, and those claws stand straight up. Dynamite bait. I'm super excited. Love throwing this around. So that's the craw. They've got like a bug that's coming out. As mentioned, the tube. You got the craw, and then here's the drop minnow, which is to me a great drop shot. And this is a brand new color called watermelon shad, kind of like a green, yellow, white shirt, like all together. Awesome color.
It's a good looking. Those are good looking baits.
It is. And then here's like so the difference between this and some of their other drop shot baits, which the hot shot minnow has been like my go-to bait for a long time. It's got like a little like forked tail. So those two
Nice.
little appendages will really like trickle along, get neutrally buoyant. This thing on a drop shot is wicked killer. Just sound like a guy from Boston. It's a great bait, come in all kinds of different colors. So there's my shameless plug for the folks at X Zone. But I really think this is awesome because it's something different. The whole like, was it net bait, whatever, they came out with their stuff of like, embedding scent into things. Berkeley obviously been doing their stuff for a while. And they came out with all of their, what was it? Why am I drawing a blank on it? Their Max scent, that was embedded in. This is like the same thing with X Zone. So you got neutrally buoyant stuff with, the scent built in. The Berkeley stuff's not neutrally buoyant, and I love having neutral buoyancy. So this, to me, is really cool to see it on there. So that's what we got. I think we're gonna wrap and not go too much longer with things, but yeah, good stuff, good times. Anything else you want to add? Anything you've seen at all, Rez, to pop on and put apart?
No, I mean, I took a look. I spent an hour and a half this morning before I went to work checking out all the new product. There's some good stuff out. I mean, besides the tackle side, everybody gets wrapped up in the new baits that come out, but don't overlook all the new clothing that's out there.
Yep.
And all like the hard gear, so like your pliers and all that kind of stuff, because there's a lot of sweet stuff that's out there. Like you said with the line management system, I mean that's pretty sweet. But yeah, don't overlook when you're going through the new product showcases and all the articles that are out there. Take a look at all the new clothing out there. I know Blackfish has got, like, last year I just bought a brand new Tideweed, Atlas suit or whatever it's called. Now
Same one
Black
I bought.
Yeah, exactly. Great product. But now Blackfish has got their camo jacket, and I'm like, well, I don't hunt that much. It's like, I could wear that, and now it's like, all right, how much more money do I got to spend on new jackets? And the wife is sitting there looking at me like, got a new jacket again? But
That's what it all
yeah,
comes down to. Well, I
yep,
know, like
exactly.
you being a Clam pro, I know Clam's got a bunch of new stuff they've come out with, from heaters to like
Mhm.
they're totally like going all in on all their ice fishing stuff. So it's gonna be exciting to see. And I know as much as they're releasing at iCast, they're gonna talk more about it. Obviously, us in the like upper Midwest later on as we get towards winter is gonna be more of their thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and we got Clam Pro Day coming up too, so watch social media for that. That's coming up in August, so you'll see them way more in depth from all the clam pros across all the states, in the ice belt, all the way through all the different provinces in Canada. Bunch of whole new stuff that's going to come out, so keep an eye out for that coming up in like mid-August.
awesome. Well, thanks as always, Rez. You want to find out more from Rez? It's at John_Resneck, correct?
Yep, that's it.
All right, so he'll get you all your clam ice fishing stuff. I guess kind of the concept being trade shows, are they worth it? Are they a big thing? Yes, no?
I think they're big. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to see the new product that's out there, except for gutter guards and roofs and all that kind of stuff. Save that for the home and garden shows, not the outdoor stuff.
I love it. All right, next week we're eating a home and garden expert right here on Camp Okayest. Again, follow us at Camp Okayest on socials. We will catch you